Today we're going to be discussing healthcare and its financial liabilities in the U.S. Joining us today, we have Aries the dog, Artemis the dog, and the always attentive Peyton the baby. If I had more human audience members, but my wife works days and I work nights, and I don't have any family here. So we're going to make do with what we got. Hopefully this can see the screen well. Okay. So today we're going to be discussing healthcare and its financial liabilities in the U.S. Currently, the United States spends over $2.5 trillion per year in healthcare. On this graph, it'll break down the percent of GDP, also known as our gross domestic product, based on the past 35 years. So at the top of here in yellow, you can see, what just fell? You can see us at about 17% of our GDP. In second, we have Switzerland at around 12%, and the rest of the top 5 countries being Germany, Canada, Australia, and the UK at around 10%. So if we go back and we look at around 1970 to 1980, pretty clustered together, all around 5% of our GDP was spent on healthcare. In 1982, we see a large increase in the US, climbing exponentially to today. What caused this was in 1982, the Reagan administration went through a deregulation period for the medical industries, hoping to decrease prices whilst creating a more stable environment. While it did create a more stable environment, prices increased. So on our next slide, this shows a little bit better of a depiction of the trends and a little bit better of a cluster group with about 15 countries involved. But as it shows here, that 5% gap between us and Switzerland, that's 17 to 12%, represents about $1 trillion a year in spending. That equals out to more than $3,000 per person in the US. And on our final graph, this is a life expectancy based on spending per capita amongst all other countries. So on the far right of our screen, at around $9,500 per person, we have the USA with a life expectancy of around 77. Along the trend line, in the middle, in the cluster, we have UK, Canada, Australia, Switzerland at around $5,000 per person with a life expectancy of 80 or greater. And at an outlier is Japan with an 84 life expectancy and a $4,200 a person healthcare cost. That's less than half of what the US spends. So what causes this enormous cost to the US? 3 things are to blame. One is our fee-for-value system, which is a system we use. And that allows board of directors and hospitals to determine prices for procedures and medical treatments, and it can vary region by region. It's supposed to be based off of a median annual salary of the area. But in reality, what it is in a rural area, the same MRI that you can have in Cottonwood compared to Phoenix has an exponential cost difference. Second, we have high education costs. The U.S. is currently ranked number 1 in cost of education, but number 15 in quality of education. But the average general medicine doctor in the U.S. is going to spend almost $300,000, $250,000 to $300,000 a year to get his degree. And so that raises the costs of the doctor. So general medicine doctors on average in the U.S. make $125,000 a year. That's a lot, right? No, because he's going to pay back a loan for $300,000. That's $20,000 to $25,000 a year in repayment costs. Then he has another cost called malpractice insurance, which can cost anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 a year. So that doctor making $125,000 could potentially really only be making $80,000 a year. Still a good wage, but it's not what most people presume. And last, we have monopolies in medical technologies. During the 80s deregulations, companies like McKesson and Philips were able to lobby millions of dollars to secure a monopoly so that their products were the only featured products in hospitals. And this goes down all the way down to diapers. Pampers diapers are the only diapers served in any hospitals. So let's evaluate what we have here. We have a fee-for-value system that doesn't work well. We have high education costs that cause doctors to have to charge exponentially more. And we have monopolies on equipment so that they can charge hospitals whatever they want, and hospitals have to relay that charge down to the consumer. What can we do to resolve these issues? Well, one, we can look at what the other countries are doing. 4 out of 5 other countries on the top list are using what's called a value-based system, where the government can either regulate the cost or regulate the businesses that regulate the costs. And so nationwide, a cost for an MRI is the same cost, no matter where you go. So it elevates or alleviates the costs. That being said, it's like saying an MRI in Arizona would be the exact same in Washington. No matter where you go to get your procedure, it's the same cost. And they're obviously benefiting from it. So the other thing is we can lobby to either universities or to the government to regulate the costs of education. Like I said earlier, we're ranked number 1 in cost, but number 15 in quality. If you're going to charge us $300,000, I want a $300,000 degree. I don't want a $150,000 degree for $300,000. And last, we do what they did in the late 1800s. We regulate monopolies. We go back and do what they did to the Rockefellers, and we go and we regulate these companies, and we create a free marketplace, which is what the U.S. is. So there's companies out there now that can create the same standard and quality of product for less price. And other countries are doing this. They take the best competitors with the lowest prices, and it creates price wars so that they get the best deal, which they can relay to the consumer. At the end of the day, it's our dollar going towards it, so it's our right to fight it. And yeah, that's pretty much my oral presentation on the healthcare in the U.S. and its financial liabilities. My name is William Malloy, and my audience members, Peyton the baby, Artemis the dog, and Aries the dog. Have a good day.